So how did cottagism enter the Maghreb? It seems to be something that isn't entirely clear or understood or agreed upon within academia how it exactly happened.
Yeah, part of the reason that we lack clarity is that the sources don't give us a definitive date and they don't give us a definitive cast of characters who were responsible. And if they do, the information is late, tangentious, and potentially unreliable. There are two sets of sources that tell us something about the very, very first Khadijis who began converting the local population in North Africa. Chronologically, our earliest is what is I believe the earliest Khadiji or Ibadi source from North Africa. This is a ninth century work called the Kitab of an author named Ibn Salam, who is himself a Berber Ibadi. The Ibadis being a subsect of the early Khadijis, as is well known. I won't get into that. Um, Ibn Salam describes a conversion episode in a region called the Jabal Nafusa. This is a mountainous region of what is today Western Libya that today remains a stronghold of Ibadism, and seems to have converted to Ibadism sometime in the 737, late 720s, 730s. It's not quite clear, but it describes a lone missionary, an individual named, I wrote this down so I wouldn't get the name wrong, Omar ibn Yamkatan, who goes to the Jabal Nafusa and begins preaching the Quran. And it's assumed based on this basically paragraph in the work that he is the first one to bring Kharijism in its Ibadi form to these communities. So that's early. That's an early source, but it's a source about a very, very particular region, and it doesn't tell us about how lots of communities across North Africa became Khariji. To get at that question, you have to rely on a different set of sources, and these are Ibadi sources that date from basically the 12th century onward. And the earliest of these is an Ibadi author named Abu Zakaria al-Warishlani.
Mm.
And he and his successors in the historical tradition among the Ibadis in North Africa talk about two missionaries arriving on camelback together. One is an Ibadi whose name is Salama ibn Sa'id. The name is spelled differently in different sources. Sometimes you get Salama ibn Sa'ad, but the earliest source, the first attestation, is Salama ibn Sa'id. And he is said to ride on camelback with a very famous figure named Akrama. Salama is portrayed as an Ibadi. His companion Ikrama, who is well known from outside these sources, outside the Ibadi tradition, is portrayed as a Sufri, an adherent of another early branch of the Kharijis. Both of these are so-called quietist forms of Kharijism. The source doesn't exactly tell us when they arrive in North Africa, but if one assumes there is some historical reality underlying the anecdote, it may have happened in the 720s. And it probably happened that these missionaries arrived in Qayrawan, which was the seat of Arab power, the center of Umayyad authority in the region. And one assumes that over the course of the next decade or two, the Ibadi and Sufri missions, such as we can differentiate them at all at this early point, spread to other regions, other predominantly Berber areas, especially west into the east. So this is a legend. It's a hagiographical trope. I suspect we can't really peg we can't explain the initial spread of Kharijism in this vast region by looking to these two kind of semi-mythical, semi-legendary figures mentioned in a much, much later source. But what I do think it's a literary artifact that tells us something about a broader phenomenon that, in general terms, probably did unfold starting in the 720s. And this is the rise of the Ibadi and Sufri Da'wa among the Berbers in North Africa.